Hello everyone and welcome to our art staff meeting. Today we're going to have a look at our new art curriculum and the next steps with our art unit of work next week. So first of all, I'd just like you to pause the video in a moment and have a think about what do we want for our pupils in terms of our art curriculum and what does good teaching and learning look like in art. Okay, so hopefully you've jotted down a few thoughts as to why art is so important, okay? And hopefully you've had a think about what good teaching and learning looks like, and that's going to bring us on to our vision for art in both schools across the trust. So, when we're thinking about what's important in art, I'm sure that your answers that you've jotted down have got lots of these elements in. So when Andy and I were creating the curriculum, we've looked at what we thought was important and what links to our other areas of the curriculum. So at Masefield, the art curriculum is rooted in the belief that art provides a medium for pupils to understand and evaluate their thoughts, feelings and ideas of others and to express their own. Art and design embody some of the highest forms of human creativity, and we believe that it is our duty to develop cultural appreciation of art and to develop knowledge of key individuals and their contributions. So we talked a little bit about this in the summer, and I think the example I gave at the time was understanding that Monet is an artist and not a footballer, and that's what we really want our children to know and understand. So it's through these key principles that we will engage, inspire and challenge pupils whilst equipping them with knowledge and skills to explore, invent and create their own works of art and craft. Now I'm sure in your list of ideas you thought about the children actually who maybe their real skills and talents lie in art, and maybe they don't enjoy English lessons, maybe they don't enjoy maths lessons, and actually this is a real way to give them something and a high quality curriculum that should match their needs. So one of the biggest differences with our art teaching and learning this year is that art is now taught as a discrete subject, and there's a few reasons why we've done that. First of all, it makes the learning really meaningful for the children, and they actually understand what it is they're studying and what art is. I think previously in both schools we had a bit of a situation where the art had become lost within the learning challenge and the topic work, and through our monitoring we saw a few issues where actually children were engaged in craft activities related to their topic, but they weren't really developing skills and knowledge in art. Okay, so by teaching it discreetly, we'll be really focusing on those skills and the knowledge, and that will help the children with their progress. Another big factor is that it gives value and importance to the subject of art. It's not just an add-on. It's not something that we do for an hour on Friday afternoon at the end of the half term because we can squeeze it in. It's a discrete subject where we dedicate the time that is needed to it. Okay, so I'm not going to read this out, but you will be able to pause the video and have a look at some of these factors. And it's taken from quite an old document, but it's about what outstanding teaching and learning looks like in art. And if you take, for example, just the first sentence, what you'll notice is it's mentioning things such as line, shape, pattern, colour, texture and form, okay? And possibly in the past with our curriculum, we've not really focused on those elements. We've not really explained to children what that means. And maybe even as teachers ourselves, we didn't necessarily know what those things meant. It's really difficult for us all when we have to teach all the subjects in the primary curriculum and maybe we're not confident. I know I myself, certainly art was one of the things I was not very confident at teaching, and I'm very glad I only ever had to do it no higher than year 4 in my most recent years. So the documents that we're going to come on to look at in a little while, you'll see how we've taken factors from this document and we've really tried to help you with your planning and your progression for the children in your class. Okay. So here are just some examples, and I know that Andy's going to show some later on as well, as to what actually really great art teaching and learning can look like in schools. I think you'll probably notice as well through some of those photographs that some of the things that you probably listed in your initial thoughts was about children using different materials, about them not creating a piece of work that's exactly the same as everybody else's. We've got a few examples of really good sketchbook work here and how children are developing their own ideas. Believe it or not, this is a primary school sketchbook from Key Stage 2. And I think the message as well is that they're not always a neat document. It's not our handwriting book, it's not our extended writing book. It's where we plan, it's where we experiment, and it's where we try out new skills. Okay, so back in the summer, we talked about the curriculum a little bit when we talked about the Succeed strategy. And next week is the first chance for us to test run the new art curriculum, because you'll all be focusing on your drawing focus for the next week and your artist. What you'll notice from the curriculum coverage at the top there is that some elements of art come into every year group, okay? And others link into other year groups, okay? Because we can't cover it all of the time. But in Autumn 1, what we're all doing is we're all focusing on drawing, and we're all focusing on our main artist of the year. And your individual year group overview will show you what you're doing throughout the year. Okay, so the first unit of work, drawing. We're going to be thinking of the use of pencil, we're going to be thinking about shape and form, and we're also going to be thinking about shape and texture. And we're really focusing in on that artist knowledge and developing that cultural capital for our children, which is something I know we've talked a lot about across the curriculum. So, saved on the curriculum drive is the progression document, and this is just a snippet of what the progression document looks like for drawing, okay? There is a gap on this PowerPoint where the EYFS is, but that it has now been added. It's just that the PowerPoint was created earlier. And what you'll see there, really visually, is the progression in pencil technique, okay? And you can see really clearly, for example, that in year 1, the children are using 3 grades of pencil, and in year 3, they're using 6. Okay, so as a teacher, you can look at this and you know exactly what the expectation is for your children. Even better, if you think your children are not where they are, you can track forward or back to see what they should have done and have an eye to where they're going in the future, just like we always have done in subjects like English and maths. We've now got this level of detail in art. Okay, along with that, you'll find your nominated artist for the unit of work and the key facts and the key information that we want our children to know. Okay, and you'll see later on that will link to our knowledge organisers, and that's what we want for our children, to be able to talk about these artists and engage in conversation with others and show that cultural capital.
Okay, so I'm now going to talk about the teaching sequence and touch on our art sketchbooks as well. So the first part of our teaching sequence is for the pupils. This sheet will be stuck into the inside cover of their sketchbooks, and this shows the journey that pupils will go on during each unit of art. They will also be able to articulate this and talk about this. If anyone does ask them about art, do excuse the grammatical error, it will be changed prior to being stuck in. So you can see there's the research the artist, there's practice the skill, and apply the skill as well. And we're going to touch on each one of these. So the first part is about researching the artist. You can see an example here from Picasso. Thank you, Mr. Klimiuk. Little shout out for helping me out with this, on how there's been some mind mapping around this artist. We have also bought the books, Little People, Big Dreams, for those artists, inventors and scientists that link to our curriculum, because if we can start each unit with a book-based project or a video, it really immerses the children and helps them understand more about that artist. There's also research through the internet, video links, Britannia, and also sharing through peer assess and self-assessment on Seesaw is a really good way to improve the knowledge of different artists for pupils. So step 2 is the key part, the development of the skill. I think historically in teaching of art, we've always focused on the final design or the bit that goes up on the wall on the display. The key part of teaching art is that development of the skill. I'm sure at the beginning when you spoke about what does good art teaching look like, you will have touched on modelling, and it's really important at this stage that the teacher does model these skills. And there's 2 ways this skill is taught in this example. It's really discreetly. You can see where there's been some work on the eyes, the nose, the ears and the mouth, and then they brought that all together into different examples using Picasso as the stimulus. Now, at this point, you will use your progression document, which Rand spoke about, to support that teaching of the skill. And this is where you can go back a year group or even back 2 year groups if you feel children need more practice. And the final part, which is always the bit that we like and enjoy doing, is the applying the skill. This is where there'll be a final piece using all the skills that they've learned, using the artist as a stimulus. And this is where we really need to celebrate this piece and potentially use Seesaw to give self-assessment feedback and also peer assessment feedback. So our books. As I spoke earlier, the art journey is going to go at the start of the art sketchbook on the inside cover. Each year there will be a new cover sheet. There's an example here of year 1, and this is linked to your key artist. This is the artist you'll be doing next week. So in year 1 it is Kandinsky. At the beginning of each unit, you'll have a knowledge organiser. Now there are 3 art units a year. One of them on the long-term overview is textiles. Now textiles is linked to DT, and that does link to the DT knowledge organiser, but we'll come on to that when we talk DT after half term. All feedback and marking will be verbal or through Seesaw. So all final pieces should be on Seesaw, where you can give that feedback. And obviously, as you're teaching the skill, you'll be circling the room, giving feedback or doing more modelling to support the children's progression in art. And finally, here's an example of a knowledge organiser, which I know you've all seen before. Obviously, art sketchbooks are black, so the border across the top is black. We'd have it no other way, would we? And you can see I've taken some elements of the progression document here on the knowledge organiser. So children have visuals, for example, HBB and 2B. It's a bit of work on holding a pencil in year 1. And lower down, those 5 facts, there's always a maximum of 5 facts per artist here for the children to really clearly see, with some examples of their work and vocabulary for their year group. You'll see that the vocabulary is progressive as well. So when you get to year 5 and 6, there's usually only 2 or 3 pieces of vocabulary because they will have learned more lower down the school. And that is Art at Base Academy. Thank you very much for watching. We hope it's been useful. Please pause, play back, or watch again if you do have any questions or queries. Anything else, Ian?
No, I just think use the rest of this time now to start planning your unit for next week. Obviously, if you need any further support with that before next week, Andy and I will be more than happy to assist you with that. And then after we've delivered the unit of work, we will be asking for your feedback on whether you found the materials useful and anything else that we could do further. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.